Jen, we're good to all.
No subbing. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. It is 4:02. Welcome, everybody, out to our wonderful School of Brothers. Thank you guys for having us and helping us. Let's go ahead and do the flag salute. Ms. Ray.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, ready and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands.
You. Okay. Ms. Tammy, please note we have all 5 board members. It's nice to see that. 2.0, agenda additions, deletions, or revisions and agenda approval.
Madam Chairman, I move to amend the agenda with the revisions noted in the copy in front of us.
Okay,
Second.
okay. So we have a motion to go ahead and approve the amended revisions on the agenda and a second. Do we have further conversation, discussion? Okay. We're going to do a roll call vote. Kelsey? Here. Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes as well. Thank you. 3.0 recognition. 3.1 for students, staff, and community members. We're going to hand it over to Dr. Hoff.
Thank you so much. And I am actually going to turn it over. Mr. Jim Bates and Mrs. Stacy Bates have prepared these fantastic Paulina students for a.
We're in brothers.
What day is it? I prepared these fantastic brothers students for a student presentation. So Mr. Bates, you want to take it away?
Yeah, you bet. First, welcome, and thanks for making the drive out. You picked the best day of the year so far. The weather's gorgeous, and so hopefully you got to see a lot of beautiful landscape that's unique to the community. And just thanks to everybody, parents, and then we'll recognize our PTO shortly, but it's actually cool. So, thanks. And then, if you don't know for sure, Stacy and I share the job here. So it's a one teacher job, and then she and I have we share this. I mean, she's really the brains of the outfit, and I take orders and then make sure that she's keeping that track on what I'm not doing correct. So it's a pretty good relationship. But generally, we'll do a couple of days a week each, and it'll feel seamless. And when we're not here, we miss the kids, so we look forward to get back. And we're lucky to get to this, to work with some of the best parents around, and thankful for that. So we have a little bit of
Okay, we have 7 students this year, but 3 of them are sick. So, not here with us.
and we have one first grader, and that's John, and we have 4 second graders. And then we have 5th grader and then an 8th grader who will be graduating this year too. And then we're anticipating having at least 10 next year, and then possibly 3 more the year after that. So if you ever ask, will we run out of kids and brothers? So far the answer is no. So that's the forecast, and we're excited about that. Through the course of the year, I got just a couple of things written up on the board. You know, we've done some major studies this year. We've done a big water cycle, the key question around where does water come from, where does it go? And we studied that for a few months, and we went all over the place and kind of zeroed in on the Great Basin, which we happen to be right on the edge of. And so very fortunate, we did a big Antarctica study, and we learned right along with them. We just finished our favorite pet project. So the kids will do just a quick share out about what it was that was memorable for them.
And Mr. Race, I'm gonna have you come stand a little bit closer
Yep,
to the
I get
microphone,
that.
just so that our folks at home can hear you.
I remember that. Yeah. And so, again, we just finished the pet presentations, and we do a lot of writing here at the school with the kids. We write in the morning, in the middle of the day, the afternoon. If it's any kind of project, we do a lot of writing, both initial draft and final drafts and digital versions of them. So lots and lots of writing. And then we finished the pet presentations, and I'm going to have the 4 out of our 7 stand up and share what they remembered the most, and maybe a favorite part of that. So with the 4 of you stand up and And then up here, one of the slides from each of them, they did their research, the rough draft, they put those together and then put them into a Google Doc when they were finished, and then I did a presentation and had their family come in and bring their pet here. From the dogs to a fish, to a horse, and that's unique about Brothers, and we had such a fantastic time. So these are single slides out of their presentations, and I'll try to be on the right one. As I just kind of randomly have each one share. Please, would you start us off with your card? Yeah. So what was interesting about what was one of your favorite things about the presentation? You can read your card.
Okay, hello, my name is Stacy Smith, and one of the memorable parts of doing my pet presentation was making my slideshow. Another thing that I enjoyed was bringing honeysuckle into class.
Yeah, the fish in the fishbowl. Yeah. So you brought me something in, that's fantastic. Thank you. Lawson, let me go back and find Riley. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Austin. One of the favorite parts of what a memorable part of my pet report was the research. One of my favorite things to do was bringing Riley into the class.
And Riley did a great job. This is Riley as a puppy.
These are one of the pictures I found on them.
Okay, all right. Riley was a little bigger than that when Riley visited, right?
And I found this picture.
Oh, okay, this was a lookalike picture. Okay. Very good. We're trying to, finish up the project. We didn't always have like just the right picture sent in and so they did a great job in doing some lookalike picture. So thanks. John, one of yours next. Let me find. There. They got Bruiser here.
Hello, my name is John. A memorable part of pet. The fourth was finding the food of food. My favorite part was to have Nana bring food into class.
Nice job.
Animals are special. They are special because they are all different. My pet is amazing. He looks cute. The food he eats is unique.
They had a whole slideshow, and so thanks, John, for showing us what that would look like when you were presenting with your family. You did a great job with that. And then Diesel, also known as Tito. And Harvey, you ready to share this work with me? Okay. Very good.
Hello, my name is Carter. A memorable part of my pet report was putting pictures of Diesel into the slide. My favorite part was when Dad brought Diesel to class.
Yeah, and they all did a great job, and they're running around and all the text was very friendly. And they're used to that with our own saying good morning to them fairly often, so. Everybody did a great job at that, thank you, and would you give the kids just a little thank you? Yeah, thanks for letting us highlight them. That is just a drop in the ocean of the projects that they've completed this year or that they've yet to complete. Our final one that we're just diving into now, is birds in Oregon. And, the question, what kind of birds live in Oregon? And we go into the assumption our kids know a lot, and they do know a lot out here, and they can do a lot. So when you look over at that chart, that's actually our first brainstorming list of what the kids know already. Yeah, so we've got a great foundation to start with. And our final field trip will be up to French Glen and Harney County Preserve, and then to Crane, where we do a lot of birding, and we'll have some professionals joining us soon. And which is, we've been very fortunate. We aren't short on experts coming in to visit us. And we just had an ornithologist here last week, Miss Rachel, and talked to us about their sage grouse project that they're working on. So we're learning along with them, which makes it fun for us to participate tonight. Lots of field trips, local and abroad, and then as you can imagine, with 7 kids, pretty personalized education. We know them and we know what they need. And we stay hard and work on that for the day. We work them hard, give them a break, work them hard, give them a break, and that's the routine for the day. And they do well with that. They really do work hard. Like I said, we do tons of writing, and that's a strength of one of the main strengths of Stacy's. Being an early childhood educator for so long, and I just wrote on her short tales and that for a couple of years of learning, and just lots of reading and the core programs and tons of science. So we use most of the district core program throughout the day, and then we also put a lot of personal touch into that, so that the kids are very interested with the studies, as you can see here too. So it's also fun to recognize, you saw the table tonight walking in with the treats sitting on there. And that's just again a glimmer of how lucky we are with our parents. And so I'd like to be able to just recognize some of our PTO members that a lot of them are here today. And Dr. Hoff.
Yeah, when Mr. Bates and I were talking about who we could recognize at this meeting, particularly being a rural school, the PTO plays such a critical role in just facilitating activities and all the things that make school special. So Mr. Bates wanted to recognize some people in particular.
I do. Would you
So
like to?
let's have so Miss Chelsea Smith. Miss Chelsea Smith. Let's give her a round of applause. We have Miss Jaqueline Ross. Let's give her a round of applause. Round of applause. We just missed.
She is our secretary, our instructional assistant, and then also PTO secretary. Yeah, so she wears a lot of hats and stays very busy during the day. And she loves organizing. So Mrs. Bates particularly loves that. So,
We didn't tell you this, but we're gonna take your picture. So, all right, let's come on.
you guys, 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
All right, let's give him another round of applause. And there was actually another 2 staff members we wanted to recognize. So 59.5 years is a long time. I don't care who you are. That is how long Jim and Stacy Bates have been working for the Crook County School District. Come on. So we are so fortunate that we can just trust Jim and Stacy out here and are just doing an awesome job. 59.5 years combined with the school district is no small feat. So let's give them a big round of applause.
Let's be clear.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Hall. And we have one more recognition, and this is someone who has just been going above and beyond, and she's gonna be so mad at me, but Anna Logan. has been so amazing. So,
You're on
so Dawn has moved on and went to work for the ESD, and Anna so graciously for weeks and weeks and weeks took on the role that Dawn was doing, training her replacement, working on a budget, and we met with our auditor for interim audit report, and his the one, it was like, this is the cleanest audit I've ever seen. And the one recommendation he had for me was like, man, if Anna Logan ever leaves, you guys are in trouble because she is irreplaceable. So we are so grateful for Anna. She does so much work behind the scenes and does it with a smile. So we got her these tulips, which we thought were very, very spring. So let's give Anna Logan a big.
Oh, come on.
Do we need a picture? I think we need a picture. Okay.
Don't make it weird.
That's good. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Hey, let's give it up for Anna Logan.
Well, that was fun. You, Dr. Huff.
Can we ask questions for Jim and Stacy?
Absolutely.
So I have a question for you too, specific to ESD services for kids, and I don't know if you have enough kids and you would even have enough experience to answer that. But being a rural school principal versus an in-town principal, what's the difference, if any, in experience for seeking special services for special kids?
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. Having been a principal in town for a long time, I would just say that, our kids are no different than kids anywhere. And if they have needs, then we're gonna ask the questions, what can we do? What can we do for them? And if Stacy and I can provide the service to the level that the kids need, that fantastic. And if not, then we advocate for additional services, and so it's just kid by kid basis, and up until recently, we've been able, I think, to meet their needs, and then, we been in some discussions about, for our future population and, what their needs can be and what we can do district and locally. So that's definitely a year by year conversation, and we're both prepared to seek those services and ask for it and try to find a match if we can, if we need to.
Have you had need of any ESD services out there?
Up until now, historically as a principal, yes, and we've provided some remote service in the past with speech, and we might anticipate that kind of need again for next year if that's the case. And I've seen that in action at Paulina, and I've watched that happen remotely. And it's fairly successful when it happens regularly, and it's nothing replaces face to face, but that kind of work was pretty successful, and I watched it, and I would expect that to be successful if we needed that here. Just help the kiddo log in, make sure that their connection's good, make sure they're getting the services, and make sure it's happening regularly.
And then I don't know if it applies to your current population, but what do you do about ESL services?
We haven't had the need for that enough where I don't have a model to work from, for here at Brothers. And so I guess it would depend on individual needs. I just haven't come across that yet for here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on. 4.0, approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chairman, I move to adopt the consent agenda as amended.
Second. Okay, we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda that's amended and a second. Do we have any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Kelsey? Yes. Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes as well. Okay, 5.0, the finance report. 5.1, the finance report. Ms. Logan.
In finance report in your packet, if you could look at page 3. That's the general fund, and it has some projections in there. The one thing I want to note this month is, there's two things. The first thing is that the property tax projection, I brought that down because we have recently learned that the county will potentially be withholding some property taxes due to a pending litigation with Pacific Corp that there's a possibility that if Pacific Corp wins the lawsuit that they have going, we could owe money back on that. So the county is withholding some money in May. What that does is theoretically gives us more state school fund revenue. So I've assumed a 1-for-1 switch between property taxes and state school fund revenue. So more to come on that. I just don't know exactly how that's gonna play out, especially with the timing, because our very last state school fund payment is in May. And then it'll be trued up the following year. The other thing I want to note is the ending fund balance is a combination of lines 23 and 24. The $2 million is the normal amount that we would have roll forward to the following year. And then the line 23 above that is the excess above that amount. In building our budget for next year, we will need to move, we are planning to take some of that reserve, that excess reserve, and roll it forward to next year's budget in order to help us balance. But not all of that will be rolled forward. So that means that we can take some of that excess and put it into reserves this year. And that'll help because next year's budget, we will probably not be able to budget, put money in reserves that we normally would. So in order to do that, I would bring to you next month a resolution to adjust our budget so that we can have a higher budget for transfers out. And I'll explain more at that meeting. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's what I plan to do next month. So that was everything on this, the written report. And then I just was going to give you an update on audit. As Joel mentioned, we had an interim audit. Every year we have an annual recurring audit of all of our finances. And they come in the spring, the auditors, and do what they call interim audit. And then they come again in the fall, in October, and then finalize the audit. So I always report to the board, how did that go? And the auditors reported no accounting issues, no compliance issues. The only comments that they had for us were best practice comments that they give to pretty much every client. So that's my report on that. Any questions on the finance report?
A question for you, just looking ahead. So next year, we know is not a pretty year because we have to pay a bunch more for PERS because the markets didn't give us the returns that kept the PERS fund up, so we can make up the difference. So the PERS rates, as I recall, are set every other year. And they are always based on market return. So we've had an interesting financial period. Markets were way up in the last year, but right now they're sort of topsy-turvy and on the way down. So are we expecting this crisis we have coming for next year to continue into the next year, or will we have a bad year, then a good year, and then another bad year if the markets don't improve?
The markets are one factor. And to answer your question quickly, it's at least for 2 years because they set the rates for a 2-year period.
Okay.
The other major factor is your payroll growth. So PERS, the actuary assumes that your payroll will go up 3% every year. Our payroll rates have been going up much higher than 3% because one, we've had a few COLAs where we're a couple percentages above the 3%. And then also with the additional, over the years, we've added quite a few staff through SIA money, HS, high school success money, et cetera, grant, all different kinds of grant money. And so we've added FTE. Every one of those FTE causes your payroll to grow faster than that 3%. And so that's one of the major factors for our PERS cost. So that piece of it could potentially cause it to be a 4-year problem or longer.
What if we shrink payroll?
Then
Will that reverse our problem?
that not as quickly, Because,
Elevator up, escalator down.
yes. It has to do with those PERS bonds.
Right.
So now I get into the way complicated area where we had a big pot of money set aside that PERS was in control of. We used it up faster because we didn't use 3%, we used 4 or 5% every year. So it's not like that money then will suddenly, if the markets went crazy and it increased a ton, then that would help. Or if we were to issue additional PERS bonds and then kind of enter that savings area. As I've mentioned before, we've saved about $15 million by having PERS bonds over the course of 23 years. So that's something we probably want to consider.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the last meeting that there was a statewide conversation going on about maybe redoing.
It
PERS
is.
bond. Is that, where are we with that?
It's kind of paused right now.
Because of the market
I
turbulence?
think because of market and also mainly because of market. There's also a lot of focus right now on some potential legislation to bring next year's PERS rates down again. So I think most people that are interested in this topic are more focused on that right now.
Does that happen at the expense of more common school fund?
No, to my knowledge, it's a different, well, the state has one big budget, right?
Right.
But I don't think that they're talking about reducing the state school fund in order to fund the PERS. It's coming from a different, I think, a reserve maybe.
Okay.
I haven't really delved too much into it. But it looks like it could be about 1.5 percentage points on average per district, which our PERS rates are going up 12 percentage points. So 1.5 feels like that's not, it's not much, but it could help us. Even if it's a few 100,000, that would be very helpful to us right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's all I have in financial.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Anna. Moving on to 6.0, 6.1 graduation event calendar, Mr. Huffman.
Hi, just have a couple quick updates for you. So graduation week, everyone's excited. The one listed in your packet is, there's a couple changes already. So Monday, we have the baccalaureate ceremony. That I encourage you guys, I haven't seen you at that, but if you guys want to go to that, it's really kind of gotten pretty cool the last couple of years. We have live music and it's been participated in a lot more. So Monday's baccalaureate, Tuesday, senior awards night. Gonna follow the same routine that we have the last couple of years with the Commons as the place for the donors, and we have a photo booth, and it's been really nice. So we're gonna continue that. Wednesday, the senior trip, that the location is still not finalized. It was finalized for a moment, but now kids are talking about Canita as a possibility for a couple different reasons. One, because it's closer, so that means more time to play and then come back, and then also some pricing stuff and some other issues with customer service, but still not sure where we're at with that, but it's going to be either Washington Family Ranch or Canita. And then Thursday, we usually have the breakfast at Club Pioneer. Jim is selling his restaurant, and I just want to publicly thank him for all of his amazing service. Like, that guy has just gone above and beyond for our kids. So we've looked into a couple of different options for where we could provide a meal. And what we've landed on is we are going to provide the meal in-house at school. So that morning, we would like to invite you guys to still help us serve that breakfast, but we're going to provide the breakfast as a staff at CCHS for those seniors right before they go to the gym anyway. And if you kind of remember, it's kind of a lot to get the kids from Club Pioneer breakfast over to the gym for a rehearsal. So that's a change too. So that will be a change. And so we'll update that on the website too, but those are just it's kind of all happening in real time. So we weren't able to get those changes. I kind of just found out about some of that stuff recently. So, and then still doing the parade. Thanks, Dr. Hoff. We're still doing the parade.
They don't like doing the parade.
No, hey, the parade's great. You're gonna do the parade. Yep.
It's an awesome community.
It's an awesome community event. If you guys remember last year, we had a lot of construction going on 3rd Street, but that ended up kind of forcing us or pushing us to kind of change our route. And that route is much more friendly to the other organizations that are involved in planning that parade. And so we'd like to keep that same route. What that means is the signs that we do, the graduation signs, if you recall, last year we put those up along the fence outside of the fairgrounds. And we got a lot of good feedback from parents on that because we were able to get their signs right away, right when they were done with the ceremony. So that's the plan we're gonna have right now. So the signs won't be along the street, they'll be along the fence in the back, but all the students will still get a sign and we'll still do the parade. And then, of course, graduation is at the fairgrounds. Question.
Lines along Third and Fourth Streets.
Yeah, we didn't do that last year either because of the construction, and we're hoping to not do that again this year, just because the ease of, it was kind of it was Rob Bonner and Kimberly, driving my trailer and grabbing them all the next day, and then we had to, it was pretty complicated trying to get them to everybody. And the way we do it now, it's a little more seamless where parents can just get the picture of their student right after the ceremony. And they're all displayed for everyone to see. And if you don't go down Third or Fourth Street, you didn't see them. And now everybody goes to graduation so they can kind of see everybody. So we like that a little bit better. And we seem to get good feedback on it. So unless any of you guys are really passionate about it going a different way, that's probably the way we'll go.
It is a lot of work. It's always been a lot.
Mhm.
It makes a prodigious statement to the community about how much we care about our kids. We
Sure.
put them on the streets. And I don't think everybody goes to graduation. I think a good chunk of people don't go to graduation. So I actually love the street signs, but given the amount of work, I'm not the one doing it.
Yeah.
Are you volunteering?
Decide.
Well, it's not even the work that we're worried about. It's also working with the other organizations,
Yeah.
to get the permit to go across Third and the.
Well, for the very same reasons as you're doing the parade, I said, you have people up out on the front porch who wouldn't go to graduation anyways.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
watch the students roll by. It's just for the same reason I like them downtown, but again, like Scott said, I'm not the one doing it.
Parade's still going. Parade's still going.
But for those reasons, that's why I like.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
now.
Okay. So we'll tentatively plan on what we're thinking. If there's a change, we can always be nimble. Okay,
We are actually board, we are a month early getting you these dates. We wanted to make sure they were on.
It's
your-
okay.
We're on your, they were on.
It's all
your
good.
calendar. We'll bring this back May.
Yeah,
as
it'll be
well
all
for-
finalized.
For an update. We just want to keep it in front of you.
But for the most part, it's.
everything's pretty much the same, other than the senior trip location is still undetermined. And then the breakfast on Thursday is no longer gonna be at Club Pioneer. Not because he doesn't want to do it. I want to be clear on that. It's just, it's naturally kind of moved on to the next thing, so.
Can we talk for a minute while you're here? We'll talk about this again.
Yeah, please.
Participation in graduation.
Yeah,
That's a topic this board's not gonna be familiar with, but
Yeah.
intimately familiar with. So in my 16 years on board, there has been an evolution of the way we did board participation at graduation. It used to be that the board chair did the handing out with the superintendent, which was pretty clean. And we always knew who was gonna do that.
Mhm.
Then we revised it so that it became whichever board member had a kid graduate. Then we had a couple board members with kids graduating in the same year, so we put two board members up there to do it with the superintendent, and then one year we had three. And it just kept growing, and so suddenly, eventually, we had the entire board up there. It is very crowded on that platform with all of the board members jostling to do this, plus you have to do like 6 and then hand it off to the next person, and it's like, who's on first here? So I would like to suggest to you that you think about between now and next month, and you can decide what you want to do then, that we go back to the original plan that unless we have somebody with a kid who's graduating, it's the board chair doing the handing out. It will be cleaner from that perspective.
Mhm.
Maybe now when we have a new board, it's the time to reset to something that's working versus something that was sort of working.
we also have 278 graduates, I think, right now. So that's a lot of hands to shake,
A lot.
and that increases the length of the process. Not that I don't,
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
with the fairgrounds, right?
yeah,
Which slows everything because of the
Yeah.
procession time.
yeah. But
Just something.
We're open to whatever you guys want. You guys decide what you want and we'll do it.
Just to throw that rock.
Okay. Well,
What was that?
Well,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
he said, unless somebody has a student graduating, well, I deal with that.
You're the,
So.
that's
I'm just-
your last hurrah.
which-
Literally.
So it's something to think about. We don't have to
Yeah.
decide the next.
We'll bring it back in May.
Yeah. You guys talk about it. Let us know what your wishes are and we'll accommodate.
It's a growing issue and it just kind of needs to.
Everyone will have a seat up there somewhere, so. You guys can probably shuffle and figure out how you want to do it. But open to whatever.
Are there any of the other events that you would say, hey, it means a lot to the kids if you guys show up?
Yeah, I've been impressed with the baccalaureate. I hadn't gone until a few years ago, and then I went to one and it was like, it wasn't very well attended, and then it slowly gained momentum. I think that has to do with some of the parents that were involved. We have some teachers that sing and perform and play music, and it's like, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty cool. So the last couple have been really impressive. So I'd encourage you, if you are interested in something like that, to maybe go to that one. Senior Awards Night is really well put on, so that's a fun one to go to. And it used to be like a 3-hour event, and now it's more like an hour and a half. So it's still done really tastefully, and everyone seems to like that one. Come to whatever you want.
Senior trip.
Senior trip, you want to come to senior trip, you can chaperone a little bit, whatever you want to do.
I'll drop
You're-
the kids
you're
off
welcome
at
to-
your house and then-
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm going to senior trip, so that means that you might check with Elena on that one.
I think it's also worth noting that in 2019, we
Mhm.
added a component to graduation. So that we added a community leaders section on
Mhm.
the other side of the stage. So you have the kids who are sitting on one side, you have their teachers all sitting down in the front.
Mhm.
And we included, at that point, we expanded it to include all teachers in the district, not just high school teachers, because it's a community event, it's a
Mhm.
district accomplishment to walk a kid. And they would walk across the stage and would walk into the next, or at least by the next section, which had all your community leaders, your counselors, your commissioners, your judges, and all your electeds and other community folks. And the idea being that you're crossing that bridge on graduation from being a student to being a fully fledged participating community member, and you too could be in that box if you choose to. It was cool. It was more cool for the community leaders who got to be a part of celebrating our kids, and it did a lot for the district, the district's image with that. And then we had COVID there with that. So, I mean, I know we tried to bring it back.
Yeah, I think we're working on it
last
again.
Couple
Yeah.
of years, and we're trying to do it again.
Yeah.
I'd really encourage all of us to lean into that, because it's a cool thing when we can make that statement that this is your whole community behind you, not just your high school
Yeah.
teachers.
So we'll bring this back in May just to update and talk more about the specifics around the graduation ceremony.
Driver's education, just wanted to give you guys an update.
And just a technical thing, there's a slight delay from when I click a button to when it shows up on that screen.
I think it's
So
just a
these-
one slide, so I think we're
These
okay.
slides, and for future presentations tonight are in your packet, so in case there is a.
No animations, right?
In case there's a delay, there's no animation.
Okay, good.
But you might want to follow along with your slides in your packet.
So this year, trimester 2, it was kind of a late add, but we were able to add a driver's safety elective so I just want to explain, there's a driver's safety class. That's an elective, no cost, not through the High Desert ESD, just taught by one of our teachers. The goal for that class was just to get kids prepared and learn how to drive safely. So they prepared for the basic permit test. They got a certificate of completion. The goal would be to have them provide that to their insurance provider, and some insurance providers would honor that they've gone through a driver safety course. I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from students yet on whether that's been successful, but we do have a driver safety class. So that is the top part. We had 2 small sections, trimester 2, because it was kind of added late, and then we have a larger section now, trimester 3. So that's happening. That's the driver safety class. And then we still have driver's education through the High Desert ESD at school, and that's the numbers for that. So we've given over $10,000 worth of scholarships for that. I think it's $800 to do driver's ed, so it's pretty expensive for parents to put their kids into driver's ed, but we felt like it was valuable. So we've given over $10,000 worth of scholarships, and 31 students have done it so far. And we do like the driver safety class. We were able to, the driver's ed class doesn't need we have driving simulators, and so now the simulators are down in the driver safety classroom. And so in the driver safety class, they use the simulators now, so that's been good. And then, yeah, just next steps are to continue to have that elective. So we have that elective, the driver safety elective, 1 section each trimester next year. And then we're going to continue to find some scholarship funds for driver's ed, and we're going to continue driver's ed next year as well. And we have some leads on some funding for that, so.
What's the gap between the need and the current, like, funding?
Well, 31 students at $800 a piece. Carry the one, so we're not funding it all the way, but we're funding a chunk of it, so we're able to do some partial scholarships for people to at least ease some of the financial burden for them.
One other aspect too, that was, an addition where we allowed, we worked with the ESD where we're allowing anyone that has asked for a scholarship, we were able to, get at least a half scholarship, cut that down to 400. And then we also, were allowed to do payments. So.
Yeah, the
people
payment
could
plan
pay
was
over
huge.
time. So
Mhm.
we've really expanded the options for parents around driver safety and driver education. So there's a lot more choice now, for the free options, paid options, scholarships, payment plans. We got the whole gamut. So, it seems to be rolling pretty quick.
One other thing is we have a High Desert ESD employee that is certified to teach driver's ed, and he's our driver. And so he's at school every day. So we teach the driver's ed class, but we can also do drives during the day. So it kind of eliminates the barriers for kids that can't make it after school. So that's been a nice addition as well.
I would like to just, for Eric and Kelsey's benefit, talk a little bit about what staff's done here, because this issue came up about a year ago when ESD announced in an ESD budget meeting that they were canceling driver's ed at Cook County, which turned out not to be true, and they made a mistake. But you can imagine the screen that followed. And so there was a big meeting of the board, and the board raised its concern loudly that it wanted to do that. And we were made aware at that point that ESD has some real limitations on its ability to deliver more services than what it's already got.
Mhm.
It just simply can't physically do more. So we tasked staff, the former board, with trying to figure out, what to do about making sure every one of our kids has an affordable opportunity to learn to drive, because we were getting some rather alarming reports about many of our students driving without licenses and without insurance, and our parking lot being sort of a pinball machine. So
Parking lot's been a lot better this year.
imagine they got driver's license. So staff really did lean into that and came up with some creative, innovative ideas for how to manage it, and came up with a scholarship plan. And it really has been the best example of the school hearing a need and then leaning into that need. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
We still got a lot more to do, because we got
Yeah.
270 kids graduating and we got 62
Yeah.
licenses so far.
Well, I think other people have driver's licenses, but they're the ones that are.
And we'd be amiss to not give, Sam Schmitz.
Yeah.
credit, because, Jake and I approached him, and.
Hey, you're teaching a driver's safety class.
Driver safety goal, and he ran with it, so he definitely deserves a lot of credit, so I want to make sure his.
He's done a great job, and the kids that leave that class say, oh, I love Mr. Schmitz. And so it's not hard to get kids into his class. Sometimes it's harder to get kids into classes that they aren't fully interested in, but when they know he's teaching it, they're like, oh, I know this will be fun. So that's been really nice.
Just to get into a real car, or just to simulate.
They do the simulators in driver safety. They haven't got into a real car.
I
Yeah,
think
no
they'll-
real cars. Hey, that one's not High Desert ESD. No real cars. Any other questions?
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of course.
That was a great
Thanks,
update.
Gotta unfold here.
Give me a minute. Get out of there. 6.3 curriculum review committee appointments. Mrs. Lovell.
Hi, I feel like I need one of those stadium seats. Sit up here on the bleacher. Hey, guys. I do appreciate, like, most everybody is wearing blue and gold. I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For our schools.
Sorry, Eric. It's in there somewhere. Okay. So 6.3 is a curriculum review committee. So we had put off or postponed high school math for the last couple of years, but this year it's happening. So according to policy IIA and the AR that goes with it, part of that curriculum adoption is having a community review committee of at least 5 members. And so that needs to be board appointed. And so I am here today with, I believe there's a list of 10 people that have volunteered in some way, shape or form and capacity to serve on that curriculum review board appointed community committee. And what that entails is that they come in and review curriculum, and they will be present, as many of them as possible, for a presentation by Kirsty Booster and some other high school math on the curriculum of choice for high school math. And they will provide some feedback, of which then we will take that feedback and look at the recommendations around continuing adoption, or what our recommended curriculum is going to be. So these are our 10 people that have agreed.
Madam Chair, I move to appoint the curriculum review committee consisting of Callista Songstead, Karina Call, Jenny Quinn, Ashley Thrasher, Amber Loveday, Sarah Teskey, Maria Campuzano, Shauna Holland, Debbie Wood, and Andrea Nash. Maybe that's Andrea. Andrea
Yeah.
Nash.
Okay, we have a motion, to appoint said committee members to the high school math curriculum review committee in a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Kelsey?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes as well.
Madam Chairman, I do, looking straight into the camera, want to invite the gentlemen of this community to step up. There's 10 ladies here, but half this curriculum will be taught to young men. And half of the community consists of young to old men. So come on, people, we can all do this.
Thank you for that.
Give an amen or hallelujah.
6.4 math initiative update.
Okay. Math initiative update, and I believe the board asked for some updates several years ago. We put a lot of funds into increasing rigor in our math curriculum, K through 12, getting some training, working with some curriculum, working with instructional models that were research proven, and bringing in some trainers. And so we had a request to kind of update you guys on where we are on the math initiative. And so there's three components of what we did when we first spent some money, and actually continued to spend some money and time with teachers. And the first is professional development. The second is with standards alignment and scope and sequence, that vertical alignment from K through 12. And then the next is making sure that our curriculum resources match the needs of kids and teachers. So the first thing we wanted to point out, because this is new information, and Marcus said he would help me out in this, is this last weekend, we had some of our middle school students participate in a math competition. And Marcus, can you give a little bit more about that?
I believe I was in front of you guys 2 months ago talking about our mathletes and this last Friday, they went over to Salem for another competition. This one specifically was for 7th and 8th graders. We didn't have any 6th graders in this group. But generally, historically, they go to Hermiston. Schedules didn't align, so they went to Staten this year. And we had 9 students go, chaperoned by Matt Fisher and Michael Whiting. There's different competitions throughout the day, groups of kids, individual assessments, different pieces along the way. And our group won the algebra as a group, won the algebra competition. They won the 8th grade math competition. And then with the pictures, you can see every student had some sort of placement with their individual competitions with ribbons and trophies. And then as a whole, throughout the whole day, we were awarded the first place trophy for the entire day. So super awesome.
We get them in front of us and,
You know I'd love to.
Good picture.
Bring him back. Yes, so
And that was just Friday.
That was Friday. Yep.
This
So-
slide is not in your packet because this is hot off the press.
brand new.
I posted it this morning for Dr. Hoff, and
I
yeah.
just thought it was very coincidental. We're giving an update on our math initiative, and let's start with some trophies and some celebrations. So.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And then I want to thank Marcus while he's up here because our math at the middle school has continued. We've continued to have more and more students who are needing or are ready for advanced math. And so he has worked hard over the last couple of years about how do we bring some more of that advanced math down into the middle school. We currently have some students that have to travel up to the high school because they're ready for that level of advanced math. And because the numbers are growing, he is working on the schedule and making sure teachers are capable and ready, and they have room in their schedule to teach those advanced high school math courses, algebra and then beyond. And so that's going to be happening next year. So that's another celebration. And part of that is just that like we've we've advanced kids so that they're ready for that advanced math. And then the other part is, then when they get to high school, we all know the benefits of those dual credit classes and having the ability for kids to take those college level classes and college credit classes while they're still in high school. So the more students we can have prepared at this middle school level, then they can go into high school and seamlessly go into those. So thank you also for that as a celebration, Marcus, for you and your team. Because I know it's not easy as you're putting together a schedule of.
Anyone really good with schedules, let me know.
That one in there.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's gonna be between,
Right?
All our
Right.
PE class.
Yeah. Our PE.
Off the top of your head, you said the math program's growing. Do you know how many more kids we're getting in those advanced math classes?
Marcus.
So off the top of my head, the last couple years, we've had between 1 and 3 eighth graders that we would transport to the high school. I think the last 3 years we've had transported a few. Currently our 6th grade, we have 5 students that we've bumped up into 7th grade math. And with our restructuring of advanced math, we won't have to do that per se. We're going to be offering more advanced classes at each grade level. And so that'll give us that option. And speaking of Matt Fisher, next year, we're going to be looking at doing 3 courses of advanced 8th grade math. Instead of generally we do 2 per grade level. So we're growing those options and trying to push more students into those tracks as we build our schedule and plan for the future.
Well, as a parent who has a come home and be
Mhm.
excited about math, and I'm like,
That's
kudos to you guys.
Wow,
Just-
thank
I
you.
love hearing it.
Got some good teachers. All right.
You can either stay or you can.
I'll head out.
So I do
Good job.
do believe a lot of that success that we're seeing at the middle school is a result of some of the changes that we started with in 2021. And so that is, we had 75% in 2021, we had something called Math Camp, which took place in the summertime. So it was a week at the right act for a week in June, and then Math Camp continued for a week in August. And so we brought teachers in and had trainers, and they looked at standards, they looked at instructional models, they looked at small group instruction. And at that time, over 75% of our K through 5 staff came in and participated in teacher math camp. But they just were excited about kind of a reshifting and a restructuring of how to teach math and building fluency. And so if you kind of look at the timeline, like 2021, okay, a lot of them started that, and now we're looking at such larger numbers in the middle school, and I think it's correlated really nicely. So with that, this math camp, which was done in part by Shannon McCaw, and then she's got 2 teachers that she works with, or 2 trainers that she works with, Laura and Jen Hunt. And they again came, and some of them worked with all K5, some of them split up the K2, some of them split up the 3-5, and they also did some training with high school at that time, but I don't remember if they did specific training during math camp with middle school teachers. Although they did. They were upstairs at the high school. Yeah. So they had a trainer that worked with 6 through 12 as well, in building scope and sequence and talking about different math activities and instructional strategies. But anyway, this kind of moved into a small group focus. So that idea of whole group instruction, yes, a little bit, but what you really do is you really get to know kids, and kids get to practice fluency when they're participating with their teacher in small groups and then working in small groups. Teachers are really able to differentiate their instruction based on who needs what doing that. And so you might hear that referred to as fruit salad. So that is kind of what the model is called. It's called the fruit salad. There's a lot of reasons why it's called that. But when teachers talk about it, that's their small group instruction. The other thing that they did with that, which was really cool, was the assessment and standard alignment. And so we have document upon document that get used regularly by our K through 12 teachers, where they look at our essential standards. They've identified our essential standards. They have identified formative and summative assessments, so that across buildings at our elementary school, like when you do this unit, these are the tests or the assessments that kids are taking. You can talk with other 4th grade teachers or 2nd grade teachers about how kids are doing, and it's all the same. So they're teaching the same priority standards. and they're assessing them, if not the same, very similarly. So we did that work. And since that, we've had ongoing training. Shannon McCaw has continued to come back every year, and we've done not a week of math camp, but we've done a day or two, especially after we moved with new curriculum this year. Brought them back and said, oh, and standards changed in 2022, I believe, for use in 2023. So Shannon and her team came back, worked with teachers again as new standards came around and said, let's look at what we've done. Let's see if they still align with the new state standards. So, and then Shannon and I, for the last couple of years, did classroom walkthroughs during math class to just get in there and see like what's working, what do they need assistance with. And it's really interesting as we've gone through an adopted curriculum, one of the feedback from teachers are like, we need more stuff for small group instruction. We need more stuff to do fruit salad. And as I talk to publishers and vendors and I said, and they give this feedback, they're like, what is fruit salad? What is this small group instruction? Like our big publishers just are not, they're not creating materials that follow that model, but our teachers love it. Our kids respond really well to it. Okay. I think I might've done all 17 slides, Joel, and just the one.
You're doing great. Keep it up.
Yeah. So vertical alignment, again, that idea of that K through 12, what are kindergartners learning to first grade to second grade? How do we align and make sure that first graders are ready for second graders and so on all the way up to high school? Shannon is again coming back. Whoa, she's coming back again the end of June to do that work as well. And then with grade level leads, they'll come in K through 5. So we talked about standards update. Math teams review and align courses, yep. And then also course updates, especially at the middle school and the high school. Hey, curriculum updates. Last year, we adopted Big Ideas, Oregon Math in 2024. The middle school is using Ed Gems and the high school is currently a process, which if we go with what their identified curriculum is, it will actually be a combination between the Big Ideas and the Ed Gems. So that's what the high school math team will present. And the next steps, like I said, Shannon is coming back to work with our K through 5 teachers on this continued essential standards and these formative and summative assessments. And August 25, we have, again, that vertical alignment, which we got really great feedback, again, getting 6 through 12 teachers together to talk about their courses, their standards, what they're doing at each grade level. Working really, working a lot with that standards alignment with the OSAS assessment. One of the things that we know is that OSAS assessment, the ways that they ask questions and the things that they ask kids to do are really, really rigorous on both ELA and math. And so how are we giving kids the opportunity to practice those same types of questions, have that vocabulary in the classroom? And high school math adoption, and then ongoing monitoring and training of new staff as they come into our district. So that is where we are. That's right.
For your vertical alignment training, I hear a lot about how you're standardizing across grade levels and it's doing really well with small groups. Does that vertical alignment include handoff between the grade levels with the teachers?
Good question.
Mainly because with my personal experience with my own kids and friends, I know there's a spectrum of kids I know, mine included, that are either far above average or needing help.
Yeah.
And if those kids are identified to the next grade level, it's usually seamless. And I've seen it with mine, but it seems like it's been more of a personal responsibility for their individual teachers rather than a programmatic thing. So I'm just wondering if that training includes that kind of handoff.
I would say in the way that you're suggesting, probably not as well as it can be done. A lot of times individual teachers, individual grade levels are really good about that. But I would say as a system, that is probably somewhere that we could do better at. The nice thing about the curriculum that we have now is that each teacher at each grade level has access to the curriculum at all the grade levels. So that when and if they need to expand or when and if they need to provide some remediation, they can go into that digital profile and pick things or push kids on to what they need. Whereas before, when it was like in a big 3-ring binder. It was much more difficult to do that with Engage New York. Big Ideas is much better for kids about being able to do that. But yes, as a system, we probably have some work to do there.
Eric, I had Marcus come up because what you mentioned was something that we really saw this year of a need for a more individualized. What does this independent students, individual data say about what the student's strengths are and what their weaknesses are? So I wanted to give Marcus credit because this was something that, especially from 5th to 6th grade, we saw a disconnect of not a uniform pass off of data. And that's something that we can easily pull. So Marcus, I'll turn it over to you.
Last summer, Joel, at the end of last summer, Joel and I had many conversations with some placements of students and the handoff not being as clean or as efficient as it could be. So we have done a lot of work this year. I've already met with all the 5th grade teachers, giving them a heads up on our restructuring of math, placing kids in areas that they of need for those students, as well as some of those advanced placed kids. And then we will do our kind of traditional placement transition meetings as we get closer to the end of the school year as well. So
one of the things and you heard it when Marcus was talking about the placements of more advanced classes. One of the strategies I want us to use coming from the high school level, we need to have a bigger pipeline of students ready for those advanced classes because wherever they start as freshmen, that dictates how high up they can get. So I've really been working with Marcus to say, let's make that pipe as big as we can and get as many kids in those advanced classes and make sure they're getting the support so they can be successful in that class. Because then they can access those higher level classes, their junior and senior year, be getting those dual credits. So that's something we're being really intentional about is getting more students in those advanced classes, making sure that handoff for high and low skill, making sure that handoff is clean. So those students are getting the interventions if they potentially are low. And then for those high students, let's let them rip and see what potential they have and take away any barriers so that they can go as far as they can from sixth grade through high school.
I appreciate that. But also just living in the digital world we are now, where we've got test scores and performance just all right there for each individual kid. I'm just curious if we can develop some kind of system where maybe there's kids that aren't quite hitting that threshold. They're like right on the cusp of either needing help or moving up to the next level, whether or not there could be time set aside for the teachers during a in-house workday when we have the kids off or something like, just so the teachers can meet and discuss each student that they need to based on where they're flagged.
And we built in we're developing the professional development calendar for next school year, and we built in math 6-12 alignment so that they can have conversations just like that. So join our conversations there.
And I'm not saying, I think it's important. I'm not trying to get the teachers to do more work outside their hours. I just want to mention that day because I know that's hard.
Well, no, but I think teachers do appreciate that. And I will piggyback on what Joel talked about on Marcus, because I was in that meeting where he presented to Crooked River's 5th grade teachers and had a spreadsheet and said, here's the data we would like to see on the kids. Here's where we would like to see what you recommend that they need or in areas where they have growth. Because sometimes in math, they can have high areas in some math and then needing some skill remediation in the same level, like in the same kind of math courses. And so the spreadsheet and the ask for the information from the 5th grade to the 6th grade, the teachers were really excited about being able to provide that and that somebody wanted the information and knowing that their kids were going to go off and be well placed.
Just adding to that, I think it's important to have those conversations about the handoffs and how the kids will be able to do individually. But one of the things that led to the math camp in 2021 was the aha realization on the part of the board that our teachers themselves need instruction because we hadn't thought about it, but every teacher comes with a different educational experience, which had different emphasis, comes with a different, maybe their specialty was social studies and they got assigned to math. It's all over the map how teachers come into the system. And if we wanted consistent results from our students, we had to have consistent instructional practice by our staff, and they weren't going to know how to do that if we didn't provide it. Because I think the big missing piece for the board members was we assumed colleges of education were doing that, and that is not what colleges of education do. They actually do not teach you the specifics of how to teach math or how to teach English successfully, right? Even how to teach reading.
Yeah.
So bringing this in and have our own internal academy to standardize that sets the table for us then to be able to do the individualized instruction. And no matter where you end up, what classroom, what building, you're gonna get the same supportive system to grow us. And you've got to do both. So I hope we keep doing
Yeah.
the academies. I hope we're also doing them for ELA. We haven't gotten there yet.
Haven't-
Because
Not in
they're
the
gonna
same,
matter,
but yeah,
you know, over time. That, it's a long-term strategy for trying to standardize our district. And we have to repeat it every single year because we bring in new teachers.
Yeah.
And we'll dilute the system over time if we don't keep it up.
But I think too, like, I think I wanna hold space to acknowledge like the good work that's been done,
Mhm.
and it's so exciting to me to see that filter through. Like our system, and I think. Honestly, having that, you're talking about this, the ability to place high in math, like it's kind of a game changer for a lot of kiddos, you know, as far as what they get to do after. College, so I just wanna say thank you and well done.
yeah. Well, thank you to the teachers for like being like, yes, I want this. And we consistently have teachers that are willing to do that on their summer breaks and beyond. And we'd love to see that. So we'll continue to do that. ELA looks a little bit different, but the essential standards work is definitely happening. And they are also really thrilled. That big ask I got when I took over the job is like, can we get a document or can we get the resources for ELA in the same way that we have built them for math? And so we are getting there. And again, it's through a lot of time the teachers have to do in the summers and then some of that built-in time during the school year and providing resources. So they definitely, I give them a lot of credit for wanting to continue on with their training. Yeah. Okay, any other questions about math? Okay,
6.5.
hey, it's me again. I am also gonna lean on Dr. Hoff and Anna quite a bit in terms of this. I was given a gift this year of getting to work on the integrated guidance plan update, and everybody will know that it gave me some sleepless nights and some stress, but Anna and Joel kept saying, it's fine, you're gonna be fine. It's not as hard as you're making it out to be. What I wanna say is they were somewhat right. But I learned a lot. So what integrated guidance is it is a combination of, I think there's maybe 7 or 8 different funding streams now because they have wrapped in early literacy into integrated guidance. And these are funding streams that come through ODE in the tune of, you have a separate little budget sheet that got printed separately and Tammy added it. So it's not in your original packet there, but it's this one. Like over $4 million of funds that come in that go to different areas. And as Anna alluded to before, like SIA and those kinds of things has allowed us to increase our teacher ratio or our staff ratio. And these funds pay for a lot of staff. They keep our teacher to student ratio down. They pay for some curriculum and some resources. So what you have to do for integrated guidance is you have to do what they called a needs assessment. And so that means you get feedback from your community, you get feedback from your teachers, you get feedback from your parents, and you get feedback from your students. And so we did a lot of that work early in the fall with all of those surveys. So if you went to a soccer game, a football game, a volleyball game, and there were people handing you out slips of paper with QR codes, that was to take a survey. We brought students in at every building and allowed them to give feedback on like, what do you like about your school? What do you love about this facility? What things do you think should change? We brought in community members to do those things. And so take all that information and you compile a list of like things that are going well and things that people really like and things that people have wishes for. There were some wishes that don't belong in this funding source, including like a lot of like, we need more gym space and those pieces. We need I'm trying to think of what some of the other ones are, but they don't belong in this funding stream, but they're good to note in terms of when your community gives you feedback. And staff also gave us a lot of feedback, and that goes in, that's one part of this integrated guidance application, because then you build your budget. And when I say you, I mean Anna. Then Anna works really diligently to build a budget when we talk about what needs we have in our district, and knows what can fit into integrated guidance. So what you have in front of you is the narrative as well as the budget for our 25 to 27 integrated guidance application. What's required for this is that, hey, you guys approve this application. It can't go on a consent agenda, so that's why it has an agenda item of its own. It gets posted on our website and has the opportunity for community feedback through public comment at a board meeting. And then we create some longitudinal, or the state actually helps us, and we create some longitudinal growth performance targets around graduation rates, around ninth grade on track, those pieces. So eventually, once we do all that, that goes into ODE for approval or review and hopefully eventual approval. So what our staff came away with is continued funding and support of elementary classroom teachers to keep that student to teacher ratio down. To continue with counselors and mental health support K through 12. Bilingual culture and ELD teachers to support our linguistic and our families who are multilingual. Early literacy coaching and support as the state has rolled out its early literacy guidance. And we know that teaching kids to read in their early years just sets them up for success. Instructional assistants, CTE instructors, alternative school and credit recovery staff, and then school culture support. So how do you make a building where teachers want to show up and support one another, or staff want to show up and they feel, really good about being there. And then resources, ELA, math, behavior, professional development, and then licenses for digital curriculum. And obviously that's just a short snapshot of what those funds get spent on. And so tonight I am presenting the plan. There will be opportunity for public comment during public comment, potential board approval of this plan. And then after tonight, if it's approved, I submit it to ODE by April 30th. And then in the spring, we review and approve, and then review and adjust our longitudinal growth targets, performance growth targets. Okay. And potentially after this, then I'll go back to being able to sleep at night. Yeah, it's a long one. And I have learned a lot about the investments our school district makes in its staff and students, and how we really look closely at what the community and the teachers and the kids ask for, and how we try to make that a reality in the most fiscally responsible ways possible. So thank you, Anna, for your work, and thank you, Dr. Hoff, for talking me through it. Yeah.
How many separate applications did this replace, the integrated guidance? I know it did. It was like 120.
I wish.
That's an enormous number.
I think it was originally 6. And then they this year included the TSI and CSI plans in there, as well as early literacy guidance. So it's one application that I think replaces 8. Last year we had to do the early literacy grant application separate. This year they included it in because last year was the first year for it. So it was like mid-cycle. So this year it'll go into that. It still is. So when they say it replaces these 8 applications, there's still 8 sections of the application that have multiple questions and multiple smart sheet links in multiple budget areas. So I'm sure it is reduced. I wasn't a part of the first two integrated guidance applications, so I don't know how much of a reduced workload it is. The other thing I will give ODE some credit this year is they did pre-populate some of the answers from the 23-25 guidance of questions that they asked that were similar, that they assumed districts were probably going to continue that funding stream. So I did appreciate some of that, but even that you had to review them and say like, are we still doing that with this funding stream? So.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the integrated guidance application.
I second.
We have a motion on the table to approve the integrated guidance application for 25 through 2027, and a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Kelsey?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve? Eric?
Yes.
I as well. Yes.
Yes, I'm talking, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. We have 6.6 literacy initiative update with Ms. Lipper.
Hello. Well, I am providing us with an update on our literacy initiative and the Literacy Council. We have met, and since the last time we've met, elementary schools and Literacy Council have come together and created a strong strategic literacy plan, which we are going to push out for the 2025-2026 school year. We have gotten an ample amount of feedback from the staff to see if there's any barriers that we are missing. We have an update on our winter literacy data report that I'm going to be sharing with you. And lastly, we are going to be looking at next steps for our literacy initiative from now until the end of the school year. So we started with a group of elementary we've started with our elementary leaders, and within the group of our sorry. No, sorry. It was me.
This one does have animation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So within our literacy council and our literacy leaders within the buildings of the elementary schools, we have created a strong literacy plan. And that is a plan that we are, again, like I said, going to push out for the 25-26 school year. And within this plan, it's going to discuss interventions. It's going to discuss the response to interventions and the philosophy of our interventions and moving forward. We have talked about within the plan, we are looking at the different tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, the resources that we have available within those tiers, and also the assessments and the progress monitoring that we're going to utilize and do moving our students in those tiers or out of those tiers, and consistency and unity with the elementary schools within doing this. We are aligning in our data decision making through our decision tree. So within this decision tree, we're looking at our universal screeners and then our diagnostics if necessary, and then deciding from there, again, where our students are going to be placed within those tiers and how we're going to move them in and out of a tier as quickly as possible. Again, those resources that we're utilizing and the supports that we have within those small group interventions and the targeted instruction that we're going to do within those small groups. We are also within our strategic literacy plan working on communication with parents. Again, a notification going out if your student has been placed in a tier 2 or tier 3, what the teacher is going to be doing within that small group instruction, resources that they're utilizing within that instruction, and supports that the parent could utilize at home, and also a parent packet that goes along with it for also supports if you're wanting that, as well as progress reports going home as well monthly if they're in tier 2 or tier 3, just increasing that communication with parents and where the student is falling within their ELA. And then we're working on ongoing work with our data analysis, again, looking at the data, the placement of students, and then utilizing that data through guiding our instruction and then through PLCs. When we talk to staff, everyone is invited to be a part of Literacy Council. And we've also, Carrie and I have gone to the elementary schools to get some more feedback and barriers of why the scores are what they are. And the feedback from the staff has been that, you know, student stamina, professional development, they are wanting in science and in reading, parent connections and grade level expectations, and strengthening preschool programs for our earliest learner, birth through 5. We're also looking at our fall and our winter literacy data. We're going to be showing you the iReady scores from fall and to spring, to winter. And within our fall to winter literacy data, with our overall placement, it's iReady. It's a universal screener, K through 8. And looking at it, we're analyzing the strengths and areas of improvement. As we look at it, and you can go ahead and show, yeah, well, it's a little difficult there. Perfect. So again, this is the overall placement K through 8, and the percentiles are the national norms of other students taking the iReady assessment. So looking at, oh, and also I want to take note that this is end of year benchmarks. So at the fall, they're being tested by the end of the year benchmarks. So the exposure that they've had through the year and the benchmarks that they have been taught through the year. And as you can see with the overall placement, just from fall to winter, that we've almost doubled in our mid or above grade level, early on grade level, and then our scores are reducing in the red, almost doubling as well. So positive growth in those areas.
Can you, we don't have that chart in our packet.
Yeah.
Can you explain it?
Sure. Yeah,
I don't really know
absolutely.
what I'm looking at.
Do you want me to
That's
go
okay.
up and photo to
I also can't see it.
I'll go up and
Yeah.
to where she's done.
Yeah.
It is. Cool. Can you make the Anna white?
And Amber, if I understand correctly, because I've had to, this is not like where they should be in April. It's where they should be against June.
Yes, end of year. Yeah, so they are
I
being,
think that's really confusing for parents.
yes, yep, yeah. It's showing in the fall. Yep. So if you see the overall placement up there, it's showing K through 8, the placement of where our students are falling in the fall. But as they move on, so you see placement by domain. I'm going to look at mine. It's a little hard for me to see up there. Placement by domain. Those are your 5 domains of foundational reading. And within that as well, it's just broken up into those 5 domains and where the students are falling as well. And so comparing those to the winter scores, as you can see, the green is getting larger in a lot of areas, and that's what we're hoping, and the red is reducing substantially.
So just, I can't help myself, but like,
No.
like when I get this information as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
it means almost nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have kiddos who are like learning so fast, and I'm like, okay, like, do I need to like be worried? Like, do I need to what do I do? Like, I can't action on this data. And
Yes.
and a lot of teachers are confused about it too, because nobody could tell me, like, even like the report card that I got for my kiddos,
Mhm.
like, I'm like, okay, like, this is against the end of the year, like, this, again, like, I don't know, like, how am I supposed to support as a parent? With this data, like.
So that's why we're hoping to with the strategic literacy plan, like I had mentioned before, that communication piece with parents. So the progress report cards that are coming out, but it's going to be parent-friendly language, right? To this, as you're saying, it's not parent-friendly language. So it's going to be able to tell you exactly where your child is and where your child should be and
But
the
is it
areas.
against today, or is it
Yes.
against the?
Yes, yeah. Within that too, and we've been talking with the other elementary schools and the principals, that they can do a progress report with the iReady, or you probably have seen Dibbles as well. That goes on and the teacher can talk to you as well. But when you're presented with a progress report from your student, or if your child has gone into tier 2 or a tier 3 for extra additional supports, you're going to know exactly why. You're going to know exactly the scores that they have and where they should be. What they're doing with that extra support. So it's in addition to their core. So it's in addition to that 120-minute time because they're needing that support. And then what you're doing or what supports can help you at home. And that's with that parent packet plan. So hopefully this information would be a bit clearer. And when you see the iReady and the Dibbles data, that's just a piece of the bigger picture.
Kelsey, I also do want to say, just, this is our first year at K-5 with iReady.
Sure.
And so there was a learning curve. And if we go back to fall and think about the multitudes of professional development, iReady was but one of like 5 different things. And so teachers have been really clear about wanting iReady to come back in fall of 2025 to say like, okay, now we have experienced this, we've seen what it's like, now we're ready for some different information around how to use this data, how to present it to parents, what are the reports that are useful, what are the reports that are not as useful. And then it's, I think, easier to see when you can see it by grade level, but that's way too many slides. So you're seeing a lot of data here, K-8. And it doesn't necessarily give you a picture of how third graders are doing or what graders are doing. A good indication is that this gray area means that a lot of our kids have that real basic, one of those real basic tools, the phonological awareness. That means they're beyond, like, they don't need to test on that anymore, so that's good.
So
And it's
the
like,
gray is like,
the gray is good.
Okay.
The more gray we have in phonological awareness, that means we have more kids with that base foundation block. For reading is there, and the kids that you do see who are still in that are probably at K-2 level.
so are those lower subsections without gray? Is that applying to all the students that were tested, or is that just the section that you're showing color for?
Say that your question again, Eric.
So you've got the top bar, right?
Yep.
You've got the nice green, yellow, red.
Yep.
Is it only the students that are green, yellow, and red below that, or is it all the students?
All the students.
So it includes the students in the gray for phonetics?
Yes, so if they have outperformed the test in phonological awareness, it will also test their phonics. And it will continue to test their phonics, even if it's just a few questions all the way through 8th grade. Because it's trying to diagnose, like if we have a kiddo who has phonics missing, regardless of what grade level they are, then it can help teachers figure out who those kids are and what resource they might need. And we get real worried about phonics, and we get real worried about phonics if we end up with a kid at the end of 1st grade who is still kind of in this pink or red at the end of kindergarten, not as worried, but definitely as they build grades. If you are seeing red in phonics or a lot of red in phonics, you know that kiddo definitely needs some basic skills.
I'm gonna try and correlate it to the K-5 report cards.
Yep.
Are we saying like the yellow is progressing towards the standard?
Yes.
That's what we're looking at?
Yep.
Okay. And then the greens are the meets or exceeds?
Yeah, the dark greens are the exceeds, or the greens with the slash marks and that are generally exceeds.
On the phone, like you said the second line, on the big green line, the phonics is the first, what's the second one?
So phonological awareness, then phonics, and then we have high frequency words, vocabulary, and then comprehension, and that is split up into literature and informational text. Sorry, I don't want to touch the screen in case it.
I would just say like, and I'm excited about what you're doing, so, but I would just say as a parent, this has been a huge source of frustration. And like, as somebody who wants to support my kiddos and who's present and who loves reading, I sat down in the fall with this data and I'm like, what, do my kids even know how to read? Like, and like, I didn't know, like, and, so I just think there's a lot of opportunity there, like.
100%.
And I know you guys are working hard, so I don't wanna say like, this is not to come down, it's just like. I would just say the gap between this data and the teachers and a parent is like a chasm right now, and.
Yeah, one of the things I would say is that teachers are finally excited about having some other data points with which to share with parents. But I think learning how to present those to parents with actionable items is a super important part of the process. Because as we know, parents most of the time want to know how their kids are doing. And they want to be really good stewards of education, and unless we tell them on a really regular basis how their kids are doing and what we are providing for them as a school and what parents can provide for them at home, giving you more information is more frustrating than it is actionable.
Well, and two, like, then I'll let this go, I promise, but like. When I'm raising rowdy boys and like, I get a Dibble score, I'm like, well, was he even paying attention? Like, and it's like 3 1 week and it's 100 the next, and.
It was
like next to his buddy, like so that's where I don't know what's going on.
I think that's really important feedback because, like Ms. McCall was saying, that communication to families, I think, having kids. Can my kid read? It's like, that's kind of, parents want to know, if my kid can't read, what can I do to help? So I'm so impressed with what Amber's doing of really increasing that school to home partnership and communicating to parents. And I think you're absolutely right, where we knew Dibbles gave some information, but we knew it wasn't telling the whole story. So we brought this on this year. And I think that's our next step, is figuring out how to really bridge that school to home connection. So parents, if there are concerns, they know what to do, they understand the data, and I think our elementary literacy reminds me of where our math was maybe 4 years ago, where it's like, we need to get in there, get our teachers time, make sure they have the right professional development, make sure we have the right data systems in place, and also make sure there's clarity and alignment between the 3 elementary schools and our rural schools, so that everyone is on the same page and we can answer those questions. If a kid can read and is excelling, great. How do we do enrichment?
Yeah.
If a kid is struggling reading, no problem. We will get the right intervention in place. So that's what Amber's doing, and doing an awesome job getting that system aligned so that we can move forward like we've seen in math.
And I'm sure it's big lift, so like, okay, one last question. This is for do we have in your decision tree, which I haven't had a chance to study yet, like say a kiddo is like level 3 and we're just not seeing like he or she come around, like what do we do with those kiddos at that point? Like,
yeah, so that's what it's saying, is we have some guidelines now in line of where they're falling with their initial universal screener and that data. Then we're looking at the resources that they're using, and you're talking about a tier 2 or tier 3 student, right? And then we're progress monitoring based on the resources or that skill that is lagging. We're progress monitoring, the teachers progress monitoring with the resource that they're using within their small group. And they're also then getting dibbled every 2 weeks as well. So they're being checked twice to make sure that they're making growth, because if they're falling behind, we want to catch them sooner than later, either changing the resource or doing something different, because time is not on our hands if we already have a lagging skill, right? So that being said, when do we make a bigger decision? We have our data drives every 8 weeks. that we're looking at all the students at grade levels and making decisions there. And then we're aligning as well as our data dives, which are going into our PLCs, the goals that are made in data drives, those individual small groups, students that are exceeding, students that are struggling are then being brought into the PLCs and more decisions are being made as well. If further decisions need to be made, then they're going into the care team. So they are being watched at many different levels.
Are you really?
For reals.
Amber, I
Yes.
can read, but I can't see. Can you read me those 5 columns on the left hand side?
Yeah, so we have.
Same at Cook County Elementary.
So we have phonics, we have phonological awareness, we have high frequency words, we have fluency, and then we have vocabulary and
And what is the
comprehension.
difference between phonics and phonological awareness?
So phonological awareness is how we hear sounds. So those are the very basic skills that we need to start with reading. And so those skills start at birth up to second grade even. So you're listening to sounds, you're listening and making that connection of words. Parents start with nursery rhymes or singing. So you're making that you're making the realization that sounds of these individual sounds of phonemes are actually making words when you put them together. So then you can decode or segment these individual sounds. So those are the basics of reading. And then we hit after that skill, we have phonics. And then we have our fluency and comprehension and vocabulary.
So A says that's phonics. That is phonics.
Phonemic awareness
Right.
would be acknowledging if I said or if you see and making the awareness that sound represents a letter, alphabetic principle. And so now you're realizing represents a letter, or sounds or words that we're saying are representing words and meaning. And that's phonologic awareness, singing, rhyming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the survey where you asked teachers? and
Sure,
everything? I
yeah.
just had a question on what
Absolutely.
it was the parent connection part.
Mhm.
What exactly does that mean? Are you talking parent connection between the teachers and parents? Or are you talking the parents and the child? Because I know one of the early driving forces was getting parents to read to their children for literacy.
From what I felt when they were saying is always, that parent connection between parent and child. But what I took from that was parent connection, bringing the parents into the building and connecting with them. So what we've done is created a survey for the end of the year for an advisory council or advisory team for parents to volunteer on the advisory team. And within the advisory team, we're going to have parents sit with other members, other teaching staff and specialists and the principal admin, and they're going to look over their family engagement plan for the year, and their parents' opinions of what the parents are wanting when they come to a building and what they're needing and what resources they would like, and or what the barriers are that they have that they're unable to attend. Is it childcare? Is it the time that we're putting on the family engagement? Because we do want families in the building. And when we want the families in the building, we want them to leave with, wow, that was really helpful. That was really supportive. I now know where my child is. I have the resources I need, and where I'm making that connection with that teacher, and I can't wait to come to the next one instead of, well, we had a pizza party right. And so that is what we're really setting on, that parent connection as well as setting our family engagement events, like I had mentioned, and then the student compact of what can the teachers do to support the kids, what can the student do to support him or herself, as well as what the parent can do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Our next steps for a literacy council is that you've heard about math and the critical minimums. We've had a lot of positive feedback with that with the teachers, and they're wanting to create ELA essential standards. So the absolute strongest standards that we are going to make sure that we utilize and teach before moving on to the next grade, because the next grade teachers are finding that they need those standards to be successful in the following year. So we are in the process of creating those essential standards along the grade levels. And we're finalizing on our professional development. And again, and that was with the feedback that we've had with the staff and within the Literacy Council of what are the teachers really wanting and needing to be successful and to achieve higher scores on our OSAS in the area of ELA. And so we're really trying to support them there as well.
Mr. Cooper, I can affirm that the standard that is grammar and conventions is
Well,
one
that's
of
good.
that made the priority standard list. We're proud of the grade level teams.
Yay.
And any questions?
So in the packet,
Yes.
I'm not sure what we call this chart, it's the one ahead of the decision tree, it's on page 15. It's showing by grade level how we weighed in with PHAW, which I assume is.
Phonemic awareness.
Phonemic awareness.
Phonemic awareness, yeah.
Could add to
Uh-huh.
phonics, fluency, and vocabulary comprehension. We don't get to comprehension and reading on this chart until the third and fourth grade,
Whoops, which I-
page 15.
Oh, page
Do
15.
we not do do we not care about comprehension and reading in the kindergarten, first and second?
We absolutely do. So this is actually for the title, and this is tier 3 curriculum. So when students come in with tier 3 curriculum, we're setting that, hey, if a student is struggling on phonemic awareness, this is the program that we have here for kindergarten. Chances are, if they are in 4th or 5th grade still struggling in phonemic awareness, then we're looking at an IEP for those students. So that wouldn't be a title curriculum at that point. Yes, we absolutely do. We do care about vocabulary and comprehension, but I do see what you're saying, because again, this is title. If they enter into title, they're already a year to 2 years behind. So in that kindergarten section right there in 1st grade section, we can't get comprehension if they can't even recognize a sound is a word, or a phonics is cat. If we can't read, we can't. So that's what you're seeing right there. Just explain it. Yeah.
And what happens if title goes away?
That would be very unfortunate.
Because it's real, possibly.
We would fund it. Title is, synonymous right now with our tier 3, the students that need multiple interventions. We would find a way to fund that tier 3 intervention, just not through title. Somewhat. I was cleaning out my garage, and I don't know if you've ever cleaned out your garage. You pull like everything off the shelves, and then an hour in, you look and you're like, I just made a giant mess. That is synonymous. Why I'm saying that with our literacy initiative is this fall and winter, it's like we're cleaning out our garage. We're looking at everything we're doing, and we've gotten to a place where, like, oh man, there's a lot of different stuff. What Amber's doing now through the winter and spring is, once you make the mess, then you get rid of the things you don't need. You take a load to the dump, and then you put the good stuff back on the shelves and organize it. That's kind of where we're at with literacy this year. It really is a priority. It's like cleaning your garage out, and we're putting the right stuff back on the shelves, organizing it, and making sure those shelves look the same at each of our elementaries. So it's been a giant project. I'm looking forward to fast forwarding a couple of years and having Amber come back and have our students be getting reading awards and whatnot. So a lot of work ahead, but a lot of great work's been done.
So this is Cook County. You don't clean your garage. You buy into the shed or you.
I quit adding stuff.
Did you find anything you hadn't seen in 5 years?
You found a few literacy.
Any other questions?
I-
Yeah, that's fine, Kelsey. Yes.
I think like I would, let's say, okay, so I'm down with the project. I get it, like, I'm with you, in it with you, and like, so much respect. But I would love to see like, okay, like, but it's like real time, like where are we gonna be, you know, in next fall? Like, what are like some micro milestones? Because I think there's a lot of questions within the community of like, okay, it's not where we want to be, and we can just all acknowledge that, but like, what are the micro wins that we're gonna like look for in the next?
Yeah, so if you go on page 12 on the chart right here. So that's the big one. We do the big universal screener. And then where the students are falling, we have now created clarity and unity among all the elementary schools. So we're going to follow this. So if they're in kindergarten, we've taken these universal screeners, the SGI, the iReady or the DIBBLES, the 1st through 5th grade, if we're done the DIBBLES or the iReady, if they're falling below 25%, we are going to know within the first month of where these students are landing and what to do. And that's why we created this right here. As it goes on with that first 20, with those students with first 25%, now the title teacher is assessing them with the IAs to find exactly what lagging skill they have, what area they have, and what materials that we're going to utilize to make sure that we are closing that gap of that lagging skill. We are also then going to make sure that we progress monitor. These are the progress monitoring that we are going to do accordingly every 2 weeks, not only within their title room, tier 2. This is in addition to, remember, I keep on saying they're a general education student first. So you're getting your supports from your classroom teacher first, then in small group, and then if you need a specialist to help as well. So it's going to connect the specialist with the classroom teacher to have that communication to make sure that every student's progress is watched throughout the year. Then it goes on to what intervention they're going to be in, and hopefully they're going to get that skill met, and then they're going to pop out back into a tier 1 classroom as well. So that's going to start immediately. What's also going to start immediately is the unity of title entrance and exit. As you can see there.
Are you on 13?
We're on 13 and 14. Sorry about that. So we're going to, all schools are going to use the same data and how we strategically enter students in and out of title. The student is making progress. Not only are they going to have to make progress for a variety of different data points, but then it has to be agreed upon with the classroom teacher and the other supports. And then the student then is still going to be required to be progress monitored. I believe it was up to, we decided 6 weeks or 8 weeks, because if they are then regressing, they're going back into having those supports again to make sure that they are not lagging behind their peers. They're going to be watched very closely and then be watched within their PLC times. And that's going to start right away as well. And then also with our first data dive, as you can see on page 16, that is how we're getting the information out to the parents, and that connection with the parents. If the students have any lagging skills, the parents are going to know within the first month of school to 2 months of school, when those small groups are set, exactly what those skills are, exactly what the teacher's doing, exactly what the specialists are doing, and the progress monitoring, and then monthly progress reports to see if there's any growth or not, to connect that communication. And the guidance then as well on 18, how are we determining exactly our target 1, 2, and 3 group for teachers? So when they're in that data dive, it is very clear where every single student within their classroom is falling. There are no questions. And then going into, as you can see on 19 and 20, those are our 5 foundational skills. If they are falling in a target 2 or target 1 or target 2, why are they falling in those areas? What are we going to be doing to look at them? And again, that's what's going to be brought up in during PLC time.
So literacy is clearly at the forefront of our work. It really emerges one of our top priorities. So we had Amber come and give an update in January, here tonight in April, and I think we'll do a check-in. We'll have some spring data as well. in July. So we'll just keep this at the forefront. This is something that we all have our eyes on, and we're seeing some improvement. So we'll keep putting this in front of the board in months to come.
I wanna go back to what we were just talking about, what you were talking about earlier. If that letter that went to parents, that's the first month, that says your kid needs help here, could have an addendum that says, and here's what you could do to help support this area.
It does.
And you want.
It does. I have created a read at home plan. And it tells exactly what the parent can do at home in what area, if they are struggling, and that will go home with the letter.
That's very. Because nobody wants that letter that says my kid is not up to standard.
And then what do we do?
So how do I help my
Yes,
kid?
absolutely, absolutely. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you for raising.
Yes.
The communication should tell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's needed.
Thank you, Amber.
A lot of work, thank you.
Right? Okay, 6.7, long range facilities planning committee. It's really endless. On the table.
All right. So talk a little bit about the whole long range facilities planning process. So we just found out like 3 weeks ago that the TAP grants that we applied for back at the beginning of February, we received both of those TAP grants. One's for long range facilities plan and one is for facilities assessment. So it's a total of $80,000. And so what our next step is because we want to reactivate the long range facilities committee, is we are going to send out an RFP that will go out to all of the consultants in the state that are actually eligible to do these plans and do the assessments. Because ODE has a select list of the only people that are actually authorized to do those. So we'll send that out. Once we get the results back from our RFP, we will work with the consultant to reactivate the long range facilities committee. Long range facilities committees are a mix of staff, school board members, and community members. And it's really important that we get community feedback, because if we don't get community feedback and just decide to do whatever we're gonna want to do, we'll never pass a bond measure. We have to know what's important to people. It's also important that we get the community involved so they know what the educational impact of the long range facilities plan will be. So in order to get the awesome grant, which I think everybody's heard me talk about that before, which is a $6 million matching grant. So we could get up to $6 million if we pass a bond. In order to get that, we have to have a current long range facilities plan and assessment. Our other one just expired, so we are not eligible for it at this time. But this process will put us back in the running for that, where we could get that.
How long are those plans good for?
They're good for 5 years.
Okay.
Yep. That's about all I have really for talking points. Do you guys have any questions?
When do you have to have your application in on the awesome grant?
So it usually takes about a year to do a long range facilities plan. So you have to submit them on July 1 or July 15th or December 1st or December 15th. I can't remember which it is. I want to say it's on the 15th of those 2 months.
Okay,
So you would submit it in like July if you were going to go out in November.
right, okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks, Leland.
You bet.
6.8, appointment of the Crook County School District representative to serve on the High Desert ESD Board. Dr. Huff.
Yes, I hopefully have another short and sweet agenda item. So the ESD reached out earlier this month and let us know that the Crook County ESD board position, which is currently filled by Gwen Carr, the term is up on June 30th of this upcoming June. So therefore, the board would need to appoint a new person to fill that term. The ESD also did say that Wincar has said that she's still interested and would fill that if there was no one from our current board that wanted to fill that position. So there's some notes in there in your packet. And it is up to the board to appoint a representative to the ESD board.
Are you considering you want to serve?
No, sir. Thank you, though. It's very kind of you to ask.
It's a
So like-
4-year commitment. Just to that time.
We'll like each other, not it.
We have a motion?
I would just say that historically, the ESD member has been a member of the board, not always, but historically. And Gwen was doing that role when she left this board, but stayed on the ESD board. And from all accounts, has been a good member, showing up and participating on our behalf. If somebody on this board wants to do it, I would think that would be the preference, but if nobody wants to do double duty as a school board member on 2 school boards,
How do you wait? for that?
and Gwen's a glutton for punishment, well, okay.
It's a bonus to her that she's had experience on the school board, so. I am okay with her continuing on in that place.
Agree.
Are we appointing or are we nominating to ESD board?
April 1st, it says April to May, school district board members cast their votes to elect the High Desert ESD representative in a public meeting. District should notify the ESD of their vote by May 30th. So
We're electing.
yeah, so if you wanted to think about it, we still would have time at the next board meeting, or if you're ready to elect, you want to.
So Eric's ready to make a motion to appoint.
I thought I heard.
I'm waiting to see if anyone's chomping at the bit. is what I'm doing.
I am not chomping.
No.
I don't remember Jane John.
Okay,
No, but-
I'll move to elect Gwen Carr to continue as our representative for the High Desert Board.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to elect Gwen Carr to serve as the CCSD representative on the High Desert ESD board, and we have a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Chelsea?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And yes as well. Thank you all. 7.0 school board update. Looks like we're back to Dr. Hoff, 7.1 committee appointments.
I'm hoping another quick one. So this is an annual task that the board completes where the Byron Wayne Meadows Memorial Scholarship Fund. Every year, the board appoints 2 board members to serve on the committee. We already have Bree Van Rokel will be on that as a CCHS representative. Sarai Swinson, our college and career readiness coordinator. We have a community member, Mr. Culpepper, will serve on that as well. And the board just selects 2 people. If you've never done this, it's a fantastic opportunity. You read scholarship applications from our graduating seniors. You really hear some amazing stories of our students and what they've been able to accomplish or overcome. So you definitely should do it at least once in your tenure on the board, because it's great to really get to know those kids at that level. So
Joel, I'm actually on that one, it's not Bree, so that might impact their.
so it's Mr. Huffman, not Miss Van Rokel. So if that changes your interest level, I understand, but we would need 2 board members to represent based on the resolution.
Can't be you. It can't be, because you haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah, true. I wasn't even thinking that, yeah.
Run into this problem before.
Our commitment typically it's reviewing, it's probably 3 to 6 hours of reviewing materials, maybe 1 or 2 meetings as well.
Will remind you, I agreed to do certified bargaining at the last meeting, so one of you can step up.
Come on. Certified bargaining.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
One.
I'm gonna put myself in as board member number one.
Good enough.
You're requesting this first one.
Between you two.
Why couldn't you be on this committee?
Cause I'm uncertified.
Oh my gosh.
That's gonna take all my time.
Sorry,
This is where you say you're on long range, facility plan.
but so are you. so-
I know.
I will step up.
Oh, yay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll quickly move to appoint Eric and Jen as board members number 1 and 2 respectively.
Quick second.
Were you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to appoint Eric and myself as the 2 board members for the Meadows Scholarship Committee, and we have a second. Do we have further discussion?
Oh,
Okay, all in favor of this motion? Kelsey?
yes.
Scott?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And I, yes.
Tammy will be reaching out to the lucky winners for next steps.
It'll be good. It'll be something new, something to learn, an opportunity.
Madam Chairman, before we proceed with the agenda, I should have caught this when I proposed agenda. Could we swap 7.2 and 7.3? I think the meeting would go more smoothly if we did. Or run it any way you want to.
Just thinking of the last time, number 7. What? So you want to do
Because
7.3
If we do
first?
7.3, all 5 of us can do, and then those recused.
Oh, I
can leave
see.
for 7.2.
Okay. I do not have a problem with that. Do we have to have a motion?
You're the boss.
I don't know if that's a yes or a no.
There's nobody.
Okay, so, board, please note that we are gonna do 7.3 right now, and then we will come back to 7.2. So, with that being said, 7.3, let me get my. I feel like we're gonna take off any minute. I do.
You know, learning the sounds of brothers, where we thought we had a dryer going back here for a little bit, the spaceship. About to take off.
Okay, 7.3, complaints received in December of 2024 against previous superintendent. So the board received 2 complaints in December 2024 against the previous superintendent. So we'll now address that complaint submitted by Gaten Pack and Kelsey Sofich against former superintendent Melissa Skinner concerning the hiring of Dr. Skinner's husband as a principal of Grizzly Mountain Home Link and the possible reassignments of athletic director Rob Bonner and Steens Pillar principal Brian Kissel. The board already addressed the complainant's allegations concerning the district's process for selecting a candidate for the transportation director position.
So, Madam Chairman, we have all received the report from the investigator, which came in an executive packet. And it found that there was no basis for the decision to hire Michael Skinner being improper in any way. And it also noted that both Rob Bonner and Brian Kissel are currently in their positions, so we're not forced to resign. There is a principle in judicial systems where if the plaintiff dies in the middle of, or the accused person dies in the middle of the trial, you stop the trial and move on. We're kind of in that position in that we've got Dr. Skinner moved, we accepted Michael Skinner's resignation tonight. Both of our administrators have their jobs and are moving forward successfully in them. We've resolved the transportation coordinator issue. So with that in mind, I move that the board take no further action related to these complaints and that the chair provide a written response to the complaints of Gaten Pack and Kelsey Sofich in accordance with step 4 of policy KLAR.
I'll second.
Please hold while I write. Okay, so we have a motion on the table to take no further action. And to write a written response to said complainants under step 4 policy KLAR, and we have a second. Is there further discussion? Okay, so let's do a roll call vote. Kelsey?
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and I, yes, as well. Thank you for that. Okay. Board, we're gonna go back to 7.2. Complainant request to review previous complaints against board chair and vice chair. The board has received a request from the complainant to review the previous complaint received on January 6, 2025. This is the time that we've set aside for the board to consider a complaint relating to a December 2024 school board meeting. The summary of the complainant is against Scott and myself as board leadership, so I am recusing myself from any deliberation and action on this complaint. Scott, do you intend to recuse as well?
I intend to recuse myself as well.
Okay. So at this time, since Scott and I have recused ourselves, I am now delegating authority to Steve Holliday as Chair Pro Tem to lead the discussion and action on this item. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Wait, we have so long.
We should step away from the table so we can have their.
Gavel?
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Yes. Did you, were able to review anything that was presented or?
I went back and listened to both the board meeting and the week audio as well, and all that fun stuff. Oh, it was a fun Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where either you are at, but I'd like to make the motion that the board take no further action on this, but if you guys want to further discuss it, we can.
I second it.
I'm fine with that. We could have discussion too. I'll just say that after listening to it and then comparing it to the complaint, I just think the complaint is unsubstantiated. So, well, I can leave it at that.
So a motion to take no action in a second. Wait, a roll call vote is, I haven't been doing them. Kelsey,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and myself is an aye as well. So move it. You can come back now.
It's cool, but I think it was. Okay. Okay, so that completes 7.0. Sounds to me. 8.0 upcoming dates. We have the school board work session, April 28th, 5:30 PM at the district office. We have no school on April 24th for teacher directed day. No school conferences, April 25th. Budget committee meeting, April 29th, 6:30 PM at the district office. Budget committee meeting, May 6th, 6:30 at the district office. School board meeting, May 12th, 4 o'clock at the district office, 4 o'clock. School board meeting at 4 o'clock on May 12th. School board work session, May 19th, 5:30 PM at the district office, and no school Memorial Day, May 26th. Sorry, that was for my, my benefit going 4 o'clock on this date. I'll have to double check that.
May 12th, let's double check that. I believe that'll be our regular time.
That should be 5:30. Sorry, that's my fault. Oh, no, that's okay. I was like, sorry, I read it a couple times. I had to process that. Okay.
We'll get that updated information out to the board.
Okay, 9.0 public comments. I'm gonna read a quick blurb. If you wish to make a public comment, please complete a comment card prior to the start of the public comments. Bless you. If you're reviewing online, please indicate that you would like to speak in the comment section. When you're recognized, please state your name and any group you're representing. Keep your comments to no more than 4 minutes, and a bell will chime at 30 seconds that are remaining, and another bell will chime when the 4 minutes have ended. A group of visitors with a common purpose should designate a spokesperson for the group. If you wish to request that a board consider an agenda item, please contact the superintendent at least 1 week prior to the next board meeting. And per policy BDDH, the board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. If you have a complaint about a specific staff member, please contact the superintendent or the board chair. With that being said, we have a public comment tonight. And Ms. Tammy, if you would like to come forward.
All right, thank you. So 4th time I've been in front of you, same major issue, thinking about sound doctrine, presenting to you 2 Anne Frank. So think World War II, a little Jewess who goes through what she goes through. And then,
So sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
We cut out of online real quick, so I'm just confirming. I'm not weird, but I started to record just so we had a video record. I just want to
Okay.
confirm that we're back on. Okay,
okay.
I'll pause your time to make sure you get.
Oh, good, because I need it all.
All right. I'll give you 30 extra seconds because I don't want to interrupt you. So,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then the third person that we studied was Helen Keller, who was deaf and blind and unable to speak, and yet she was an overcomer because of someone who came alongside. Okay, so 3 really important people in the history. What we did in our class is first we studied the 8th grade chart, the smarts. We made charts. We found out what the strengths were, what the weaknesses were, what kind of jobs you can do with that, and how can you serve the others in your community, which is part of what changes the culture of the classroom when you have that mindset to serve one another. Okay, so then once we did that and we started studying these other people, we found that they were using the 8 great smarts in the choices that they made in life, in how they chose to move forward and serve the other people that around them. So like Clara Barton, World War I, a nurse out on the battlefield. If there were soldiers on the battlefield, she was there. Okay, so in the 8 great smarts, that used a lot of the 8 great smarts, and the kids start making the connections to a great heart and the choices that they make and the understanding that there are many ways to be smart, many ways we can serve and make a difference in our community. When we looked at, okay, where am I at time-wise?
Okay, we're at 50
Okay.
seconds.
All
I'll
right.
let you know when there's 30 left.
Okay, thank you. And so we did that with each one, okay? That greatly impacted our classroom. I used this book in most of my teaching career in my classroom. It changed the dynamics of my classroom and how children treated one another, how they evaluated and respected one another. And that made for great classroom dynamics. If you want to know what my classrooms were like, talk to Taylor Troutman. She was my principal for the 3 years I was here. Talk to Stacy Smith. He was the vice principal. So they were in my classroom and there, and talk to Sarah Johnson because I knew her from my years in Chiloquin and she was often in my classroom. All right. So I'm planting seeds. I'm trying to sell something here. And if we want grades to go up, okay, it's like, let's deal with the culture of our classroom and look at what doctrines, because out of doctrines come your beliefs and out of beliefs come your behavior. Are we done? Oh, we're over. Okay.
Thank you.
Just a secondary video, just to make sure.
That's okay. That's okay. All right, board, it is 6:14 and we're going to adjourn this meeting. For everybody.
Thank you everybody for attending. For those of you that can stick around for a few minutes afterwards.